All right, so in today's video, we are going to be ranking each NBA team so far this season on a tier list. We're about a quarter of the way into the year, so I think it's a perfect time to go through and rank each of these squads where they are shaping up this season. Got 6 tiers to go off of, ranging from title contenders to capture the flag, which is a self-explanatory tier, obviously. And we're going to be breaking down each NBA team. I have these teams in random order. The only thing I did on this tier list was go through and make sure that it goes Eastern Conference, Western Conference, so that we're going back and forth between the conferences. Before we hop into it and start ranking these teams, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting pretty darn close. I think we could hit it in the next couple of days. Trying to get this channel monetized. So we'd really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. We'll start with the Atlanta Hawks. I think the Hawks are a solid play-in team. Now, they might actually wind up being the 6th seed in the East, but I truly am of the opinion that there are only 5 really good teams in the East. Now, I've been impressed by the Hawks as of late. I made a video on them yesterday. I think they're playing really well. They've won 5 games in a row. Do I think that they are a true like team that's likely to make a playoff run? Probably not. That's unlikely. But they're playing good basketball as of late. They're 12-11, and I could see them being competitive in the East, but I do think realistically they're a play-in team. I don't think they quite have the overall talent. Now, their depth has been really good, but I'm not sure they have the overall talent to be an elite level squad in the East. Next, we got the Golden State Warriors, who are a good team. Are they contender-ish still? I don't really know. Since losing DeAnthony Melton, they felt a little worse as of late, really a lot worse. They've lost 5 in a row. Now, they should have probably beaten Denver a couple nights ago, but I do think as a whole, the Warriors have been struggling a lot as of late. I'm not really nearly as confident about this team as I was a few weeks ago. I think the loss of Melton has hurt a lot. I don't think Steph is quite where he used to be, which is understandable with his age, but I have a hard time putting them in a spot where I even think they're real contender-ish at this point. I think good team is probably the fairest spot for the Warriors. Celtics are obviously title contenders, if not the leading title contenders, like the favorites. They look absolutely phenomenal. Only 4 losses on the year, playing elite. Them and the Cavs have the best net ratings in the league. They look elite and are playing phenomenal, winning basketball. 9 out of the last 10 have been won. I mean, they're playing great, and they look like they are primed to have a serious chance to repeat this season. The Rockets are a legitimate contender-ish team, and I mean, they're not, in my opinion, serious title contenders. I'll probably only have 4 teams in title contenders. I don't think the Rockets are one of those 4, but I think they are a very, very good basketball team with a ton of depth. They play a ton of defense, very physical, high effort, high energy squad, and they're deep, they're talented, they have good leadership, I feel like, with guys like Fred VanVleet. And I really like this Rockets team a lot. I think they're very good, and I think they're primed to be a super competitive team in the West. The Nets are honestly in meh. As of right now, we're only a quarter of the way through the season. This team is not in full-on tank mode. They are in the area where they could make a play-in run. Do I think they'll end up as a play-in team? I find that unlikely. I would not be shocked if, and when we check back in on this around mid-season, if they fall into capture the flag, they start benching guys, start not trying to win as many games. Would not be shocked to see this team become a tanking squad. But as of right now, they're not horrible. They're pretty competitive on a night-to-night basis. Cam Johnson has been awesome this year. I think meh is the perfect spot for the Brooklyn Nets. Then you got the Mavs. Call me a homer, call me biased. The Mavs have played amazing as of late. They've won 11 of their last 12 at this point, or 10 of their last 11. Playing incredible basketball. Very, very impressive win. Again, a comeback against the Grizzlies a couple nights ago, and then they absolutely annihilated the Wizards tonight as I record this video, which, I mean, it's the Wizards, to be fair. But still, they're playing really good basketball. I think they are probably the 2nd best team in the West right now, and I realistically do think they are that last team in title contenders, that 4th team right now in the NBA. Like, I think they would be the squad right now. If you said that one of the top 3 teams in basketball isn't going to win the title, who's going to win it? It's probably the Mavs. Would be, I would think, the consensus pick. The Charlotte Hornets, I would have realistically put them in meh until LaMelo got hurt. I think they're a capture the flag team. I just don't. I feel like this year's kind of over already for Charlotte, even in a weak Eastern Conference. They might end up being a little bit too good to have a serious Cooper flag shot, but I think their goal should be to give themselves a serious chance at a top 5 pick this year. This is not a team that is primed at this point to compete for anything. Yes, LaMelo is awesome. Yes, Brandon Miller has been super solid. This is a roster with some talent, yes, but as of right now, they've lost 7 in a row. They're playing really bad. LaMelo's going to be out for a while. This is a capture the flag team, I think, realistically. The Nuggets are right on that borderline of contender. but they don't have the depth, in my opinion, to be anything more than contender-ish. In my personal opinion, Jokic is the best player in the world. He is having an ungodly season. And yet they're still not great. You know what I mean? Like they're fine, but they're not an exceptional team. They're hovering around 500, lost to the Cavs tonight, which by no means is a bad loss, but still, this is a team that doesn't feel the same as they were a couple of years ago. Yes, they're still a good basketball team. I don't know if they're a great, elite, best of the best basketball team at this point, though, because outside of Jokic, they're really not that good of a basketball team. It's just Jokic makes them incredible, but I don't think he makes them good enough to be title contenders at this point in the year. Chicago Bulls are also going to fall in that meh category. I would have put them in capture the flag before the season started, but dang if they're not playing super competitive basketball. A team that is really fun offensively, plays with a ton of pace. Nikola Vucevic is having literally the best season of his career, like a resurgent all-NBA type campaign so far. Somebody's going to trade for him, and they are going to get themselves a big man who is playing the best basketball of his career. If he can keep up the play that he's been playing with, though, and the Bulls keep him, they're going to be a competitive team. They're going to be in the running for a play-in spot. But I don't really think they're a true play-in team in the East, and so I'm going to go with them in meh as well. Now, the LA Clippers, because it's the West, I'm going to go play-in for the Clippers. I think they're a decent team, but realistically, in the Western Conference, the West is so tough, and teams like OKC, Houston, Dallas, Memphis, etc., I feel like are probably a little bit better. The Suns have a little bit more talent. The Warriors are still as good, I think, or maybe arguably a little bit better. The question with the Clippers really does come down to when will Kawhi be back? And if Kawhi comes back, they move up on this list. As of right now, with the way the roster is currently, and despite all the excitement around the Clippers, Harden's still not playing very well. Play into good team is where they deserve to be. I know this might be a little bit of a controversial one. I think there might be some Clippers fans down there that feel like I have them a little bit low, but that's where we're going to go with the Clips for right now. The Cavs are definite title contenders. They are playing amazing basketball. Just finished beating the Hornets. What am I saying? The Nuggets. And another very impressive win. They are now up to 20-3 on the season. Just a really good basketball team that seems to have a impressive level of depth, especially when all their wings are healthy. Ty Jerome has been awesome this year, although he hasn't been quite as good as of late. Karis LeVert's having an elite season, and obviously they have a really good foursome in D-Mitch, Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. This is a good team with a great coach that is playing phenomenal basketball and 100% deserves to be considered a title contender at this point in the year. The Memphis Grizzlies are contenderish. I really do believe they are. I think they're playing really high-level basketball. Defensively, they're impressive. Offensively, they're super solid. Ja's shooting could certainly be better, but as a whole, they're a good team that is just now starting to get healthy and is going to add back more valuable role pieces later on this year. Guys like Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson, Zach Edey should be back from injury at some point here in the relatively near future. The Memphis Grizzlies look like a really good basketball team that is super competitive, super hard-nosed, super high-level, physical team that's also still has a lot of pace, a lot of athleticism, runs the floor. Like, there's a lot to like about Memphis. I think they're super contenders. I think they're very, very solid squad so far this year. The Pistons fall into play-in for me, mainly because, realistically, the thing about the Pistons is Cade Cunningham is a very, very good player. Look, I understand the Bulls and the Nets currently have better records than the Pistons. I think as the season progresses, the Pistons will wind up a little bit higher than them, assuming health. Cade Cunningham is having a really, really good campaign. I like Jaden Ivey a lot as their second star. Jalen Duren's been a little bit disappointing. But I mean, some of the free agents acquisitions they brought in, guys like Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, and Tim Hardaway Jr. have instilled at least a little bit more of a veteran culture in this team. I feel like JB Bickerstaff has them playing some better basketball this year. They're still not great, but I think come season's end, they're probably a play-in team. The Timberwolves are playing better as of late, and yet I still think they can't go higher than good team. Honestly, you could put them in play-in right now, but I think they'll end up higher than that. They've won 3 games in a row. They're playing pretty well as of late after what was a pretty nightmarish start to the year, in all honesty. So it's probably encouraging as a Timberwolves fan to see them playing better as of late. The question is going to be, can Donte DiVincenzo play anything close to the Donte DiVincenzo that we saw last year on the Knicks? And will this team be able to play high enough level offense without Mike Conley's kind of fallen off. I don't feel like they truly have that elite level point guard, but Ant-Man's one of the better players in the sport. They're a very fun, very good team. And I still think they got to go in that good team area, but I'm not sure I'd put them in contenderish right now. The Pacers are a play-in team in the East. I just think they are. I don't think they're that good. Realistically, I'm probably only going to have 5 teams above play-in in the Eastern Conference, just because I know there's going to be 6 teams that make it to play-in, but there's only 5 truly good teams in the Eastern Conference that I trust. Pacers are not one of those teams. I feel like they're really on fraud watch this year. They're not playing very good. Right now, they're barely even in the play, and they've lost 4 games in a row. Tyrese Halliburton's having a super rough year, and the problem is guys like Siakam, Ben Mather, and Miles Turner all having elite shooting seasons, and the Pacers are still struggling this much. Look, I think they're going to get things figured out a bit. I think they'll be a solid play-in team this year, but I don't have a ton of hope in the Pacers to even come close to repeating the run that they were on last year. The New Orleans Pelicans are the most disappointing team in some ways so far this season in the Western Conference, but it's not really their fault. The amount of injuries that the Pelicans have had, from DeJounte Murray to Zion to Brandon Ingram missing some games to CJ McCollum missing a chunk of games to Herb Jones having not played yet this season, Trey Murphy missing a bunch of games, Jose Alvarado missing a bunch of games. I could go on. The Pelicans have had a ridiculous level of injuries so far this year, and they're just way behind the 8 ball at this point for this season in the Western Conference. I don't see a path to the play-in for them. Talent-wise, they're not a capture the flag team. In reality, with a 5-18 record in a super tough Western Conference, they're screwed. Let's be totally honest for this season. They should be in this capture the flag tier. The Miami Heat are going to go in the play-in tier as well for me personally. I don't think I can put them in the good team tier. I just don't think they're that good of a team, to be completely honest. I know they just smacked the Lakers, but as a whole, the Heat have been so meh this year. They're not a great offensive team. They're not an incredible defensive team anymore. I don't feel like they're a pretty good defensive team, but I don't think they're an incredibly great defensive team at this point either. Bam Adebayo seems to have very much reached his ceiling offensively. He's actually having a slightly worse season this year outside of shooting some more threes. Jimmy Butler still can't shoot threes really, and it just doesn't seem like he's having an amazing year. Tyler Hero's been awesome, but I don't love the depth of this team. Guys like Nikola Jovic haven't quite worked out as well as you'd like. Jaime Jaquez hasn't been quite as good this year as he was, especially the early part of last year. It's just not quite as deep and quite as good of a Heat roster as you're used to seeing. Now, people believe in the Heat voodoo. We'll see if it comes around come playoff time, but as of right now, I think they're a play-in team in the East. I don't think they're all that good. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the final team that is going to fall in the title contenders tier. They're the best team in the West, especially when Chet Holmgren is healthy, but even with him not healthy, they've still won 7 of their last 10 games. They still have a 12 net rating, which is the best in basketball by about 1.5 points. They're playing elite level basketball. I cannot wait for the Mavs Thunder NBA Cup game that is going to be next Tuesday. That's going to be an incredibly fun game between, in my opinion, the 2 best teams in the Western Conference. Cannot wait to watch that game because it is just going to be a blast of a ball game. And these are, in my opinion, this is the best team in the West and a no doubt, like no-brainer title contender. The Bucks. This is going to surprise some people. I was going to put them in contenderish, but now I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm looking at the Nuggets, the Rockets, and the Grizzlies. I don't think the Bucks are quite on this team's level. Giannis has been awesome. Brook Lopez has played really well as of late. Damian Lillard is distributing great. I don't love the depth, despite the fact that they're now playing young guys like AJ Green and Andre Jackson Jr. more and have taken Pat Connaughton out of the lineup. I feel like they've been better coached as of late. They've been playing better. Giannis's mid-range game has certainly improved this year, and he's having a best player in the world type stretch in his own right, although I do still think Jokic is the best player in the world. Giannis is an incredible player, but in a tough Eastern Conference that seems to be top heavy, the Bucks are the 4th or 5th best team in the East realistically still. I mean, I know they're playing well as of late, but I need to see more. I need to see it sustained for longer. They're still only 1 game above 500. Let's see this sustained, and I might put them higher. But for right now, I think I'm just going to leave them in that good team tier. The Suns, I want to put the Suns in contender-ish because with KD healthy, I do think they're around there. But they just haven't been all that great as of late, to be totally honest. I mean, even with KD back, I just don't have super-duper high hopes or expectations for this team in the playoffs. I think they're good. But I also think Denver, Houston, Memphis, Dallas, OKC all look better right now. That's a lot of Western Conference teams already. They're good, but they're not great. I feel like contenderish would be a bit of a stretch right now for this Suns team. Would like to see them be just a little bit better overall. The fact that they have a negative net rating is not ideal. They're 12-9 on the season, playing okay. They've been really good for the most part in games that KD has played, but still, good teams feels like the right spot for them. Are the Knicks contenderish? Despite them having some struggles early in the season, I'm going to say yes. This is a team with a 7.5 net rating. Karl-Anthony Towns has been an absolute godsend for this team, a huge addition, and it's fascinating to me that Knicks fans were so against the Cat trade when it first happened, or many of them were, and now they love him because he's having an amazing year. Jalen Brunson is one of the better guards in all of basketball. This team is still while not incredibly deep, very, very good. Mikal Bridges has been pretty meh, but OG Anunoby has had an awesome year. Josh Hart is an incredible glue guy and one of the most efficient players in the league. Deuce McBride has emerged off the bench. They'll get Mitchell Robinson back here at some point as well, which will help out with the big man depth. I actually like this Knicks team a lot. I feel like they could use one more piece, but I do think they're a pretty solid team. I think contender is just probably a fair spot for them in the Eastern Conference. The Lakers are a play-in team to me. That may feel like a little bit of a stretch to put them that low with the start that they had to the year, but recently they just have not played very well. I don't think they're better than the Suns, Timberwolves, or Warriors right now, to be completely honest. I am not a big believer in the Lakers at this point in the year. They're just not playing all that good of basketball. They've been really struggling as of late, multiple blowout losses, AD not playing great, Braun showing some signs of age, and a lack of depth, lack of defense that is really killing this team. It's roster construction more than anything else with the Lakers, and it's why I think they're a play-in squad this year. The Magic, with Paulo healthy, by the way, are also contenders. I truly believe that you can put both the Knicks and the Magic in that contenders tier. Now, in a couple months when we come back and revisit this, are the Bucks going to be above the Knicks and the Magic? Maybe. But you got to give the Knicks and the Magic the credit that they deserve for how they've been playing this year. The Magic have won something along the lines of 10 of their last 12 games, playing really, really well as of late. Maybe it's 10 of 13, whatever it is, but playing really good basketball, and without Paulo Banchero has been very impressive. Franz Wagner is truly emerging into not just an all-star, but a borderline all-NBA caliber player over these past month and a half or so. And Paulo is an amazing player in his own right, one of the best young players in basketball. This is a very good team that has real depth, plays defense, unlike almost any team we see in basketball. I truly believe they might be the best defensive team in the league. Like teams like them and the Rockets are just, they're the darlings of the NBA right now, and for good reason. They're just a blast to watch. They play so much defense. They're physical, fast, fun teams. And I think they both, I mean, the Magic are the Rockets of the East. I have no issues whatsoever with them in contenderish. The Trailblazers, to me, are a capture the flag team. I think they are the third worst team in the West. I mean, they might talent-wise be the second worst behind the Pelicans, but the Pelicans are just so rough and have already kind of mailed it in for the season. I think Brandon Ingram will get traded at some point, all that type of stuff. Like, the Trailblazers are at least competitive. Anthony Simons has had some good games. Shaedon Sharpe has certainly shown some signs. They have multiple pretty good bigs that I think they'll wind up dealing at least one or two of at the trade deadline. Denny Avdija is a good player, although he hasn't had a great year. I think they're pretty bad, though. I don't think this is a team that has any hopes whatsoever of contending for anything, even a play-in spot in the Western Conference. Like, no chance. It's not happening. I think they're a capture the flag team. The Sixers are pretty darn meh. Now, I get that they might wind up in the play-in, but as of right now, 5 of 15, -6 net rating. Just disastrous year so far for the Sixers. Embiid, we don't know how much longer he's going to be out. Tyrese Maxey's had a really inefficient year. Paul George finally had a good game a couple nights ago, but has had a big struggle this year as well. Jared McCain has been the only consistently bright spot for the Sixers, and even he, as of late, hasn't been quite as electric. They're not a good team as of right now. Fully healthy, they could find their way back into the plan, but as of right now, I got no issues whatsoever with them in meh. The San Antonio Spurs are one of those teams that I think if Wemby is healthy, they're a play-in squad, but I don't feel super confident saying that. I think I'm going to leave them in the play-in, though. That feels like the right spot. By the way, I am going to move the Pistons down just because I feel like the Pistons are the team that in play-in stands out right now, as they've been playing the worst and probably they have the least potential, I think, for this season. So I'm going to move them down because I feel like that's a little more fair just to put them in that meh tier. But the Spurs, they deserve to be in play-in. With Wemby healthy, they're a great team. With Wemby not healthy, they're not a good team. But, I mean, maybe not great team. They're a good team with Wemby healthy. And I feel like they're competitive. They're playing well. Wemby's having an amazing year. Stephon Castle was a very good addition through the draft. Obviously, Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, really nice veteran additions as well to teach these guys how to play. And I think the Spurs are pretty good. Are they a great team? No. Are they going to be competitive in the West and kind of scary if you match up with them in the play-in or in the first round because of Wemby? Yeah, they are. They're a good team. They deserve to be in the play-in. The Toronto Raptors are kind of doing themselves a disservice by being as competitive as they are, because they should be in capture the flag, but they're playing too dang good to be in it, like for the most part. Now, I understand they got blown out tonight as I record this video, but Scotty Barnes has been pretty darn good since he came back, just set his career high for points. RJ Barrett is having an amazing year. Grady Dick's had a very improved second year. Like, this is a team that is really playing pretty well. A lot of young guys making an impact at a pretty high level, and a surprisingly competitive Toronto Raptors team. I'm a little worried they're going to be almost too good to effectively tank. They've won 5 out of the last 10 games. If you are a Raptors fan looking towards the future, you'd like them to be a little bit worse, but I'm going to be honest, they're a fun team. I have no issues whatsoever with them in terms of how they're playing. Honestly, the Kings are a meh team as well. They're the first meh team from the Western Conference. But they're also that team that I think is not quite a play-in team, but also not a tanking team realistically in the West. Like, you got 11 series play-in contenders in the West, and then you have the Kings. Is that harsh about Sacramento? Maybe a little bit, but come on, man. I don't think they quite have the juice. I don't love the trio of De'Aaron, DeMar, and Sabonis. Not an unbelievably deep team. They just don't quite have the top-end talent or the depth to truly compete in an absolutely loaded Western Conference. And so I think they also fall into that meh tier. And then finally, two of the easiest, probably the two easiest choices on this list, to be totally honest, are the Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards down in Capture the Flag. The Wizards have lost 16 straight games. They're the worst team in the league, and it's not even close. Absolute no-brainer, just atrocious basketball team. They are distinctly the worst team in basketball right now. And then the Jazz, I don't think are all that far behind. I mean, they're 4-17, lost 9 of their last 10. Just a really bad team in their own right with no real potential to be good this year. And I'm sure Lauri Markkanen's going to wind up with some sort of phantom injury at some point this year as well. So this is a team that, again, has no plans whatsoever to even be competitive and is a distinct tanking team with no doubt about it. So with that being said, I'd be interested to hear y'all's thoughts in the comment section down below, what y'all think of this list, if there's anything y'all would change or not. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure y'all hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.